Well, we are competing in the Northern Sun Intercollegiate Conference.
Just doesn't quite roll off the tongue, does it?
Yeah, it's we're just going to go by the NSIC.
Well, it's a one-year deal, right?
It is, but we couldn't be happier that we have the opportunity to do this. Mainly, every season you have a last meet, and it's usually a conference championship that is a prelim final that also contests every single event in Division II. And we're very fortunate that the Northern Sun extended an invitation to us. There will be 8 women's teams, and it's officially a women's championship meet.
Really?
But they are conducting a men's championship alongside it. It's just that every women's winner, or I think the top 3 on the women's side will be medalists in all conference. On the men's side, they're basically going to stand the men up on a podium and recognize them for winning, but there's no awards, no all-conference accolades or anything along those lines. It's merely pride, but
right.
We're really swimming for times and swimming to swim as fast as they possibly can, and I'm just glad that we have a good facility up in Rochester, Minnesota, and some excellent competition as well with some of the schools that are going to be competing at this meet.
This is still a chance for us to qualify for the NCAAs, correct?
Absolutely, and that's pretty much what we've been training for the last
Right.
23 weeks and 1 day for.
And this is all because we're going to be in this for a year, and then the GLVC will have their own championship event.
Correct. We've already had a couple conference calls about the Great Lakes Valley Conference swimming championships, which will be next year.
Has there been a site chosen for that yet?
Unfortunately, no. We're really close. There's two venues that we're looking into, and I mean both of them are going to be top-notch facilities. So hopefully we'll find out soon.
Mark, let's talk about this year in general because it's been a kind of a historic year for you. The second year, obviously there were some things you learned from last year, but one of the things you got a chance to host some home events. How has the first year and the second year been different?
Well, it's been different in a lot of ways. First, obviously, as you mentioned, we were able to host a couple meets. When you can host a couple meets, then you don't live on the road. It's not as, I don't think it's as taxing on the body and kind of even on the psyche, so you're not having to travel away from Jewel every single time you compete. So it was really nice to be able to host a few competitions. The biggest change is just numbers-wise. We're twice the size, which means we can practically fill events now at dual meets. But we're still, I still think we're quite a ways away from having the numbers that we want. But that's.
Well, what is ultimately the goal in that regard?
I'm thinking about a program of size of around 50, maybe 52 on the top end. Whether it be 28 guys, 24 girls, or vice versa, or in an ideal world it would be like 25 and 25 or 26 and 26. But things don't always work out in the ideal world.
Yeah. Well, tell us a little bit about some of the youngsters that you have that have performed well this year.
Well, we do have a couple veterans returning swimmers well, Maggie Metz actually has 2 NCAA consideration cuts or B qualifying times going into this meet. It's her goal to make nationals. It has been her goal from day one when she came here a little over a year ago. And all the training that she's put in, she's got a shot.
Yeah.
The Division II National Championship meet is a completely different makeup than it was, even 4 years ago. It's light years difference. It's significantly faster, so just getting there is a challenge. But she's worked hard, and hopefully we can get her there. On the men's side, Josh Sawyers from the UK, he just missed his consideration cut in the 200 freestyle at Grinnell by 4/100ths of a second.
Wow.
So, 4/100ths of a second, you can't even blink that fast.
Okay.
So, hopefully, just the additional training that he's put in and with rest, hopefully we can see what he can do. So just some newcomers. We have Ida Newman from Sweden. She's very close to a couple B times in the 200 IM, the 100 backstroke, and the 200 backstroke. So hopefully we can see what she can do in those. On the men's side, some newcomers. Daniel Day is extremely close. He's from Parkville, Missouri. He went to Park Hill South High School, but he's very, very close to a couple B times in the 200 IM and 400 IM. I think the 400 IM is his best shot, but we'll find out in a couple days.
Yeah.
And then we have another guy that's very close to a B time in the 200 breaststroke, and that's freshman Uriah Reiners from Lincoln, Nebraska. But I can't go without mentioning sophomore Matt Luton. He's been coming on very strong as of late, which is really good to see. Sometimes it takes swimmers a couple of years to adjust to the training program, and I think Matt ended last year very well, and he's kind of built on that momentum, and I think he's going to have a very good shot at making a couple B times in potentially the 500 free, the 1,000 free. Mile might be a stretch, but considering I think it's only going to be his 4th time ever swimming that event in his life.
Wow.
So, but for him if he was able to make a B time in the 4th time ever doing that event in his life, that says a lot about Matt as a swimmer. Absolutely.
Yeah. Anybody else you want to mention there that'll be competing this weekend in the Northern Sun?
Well, I mean, everybody else, we're going for best times. I mean, we have sophomore Nathan Graber. It's going to be his first championship meet, and he's 23 years old. He hasn't had a shave and taper since he was 17, so he's very excited. I'm excited to see what he's capable of doing. I mean, he could do some things that we just will surprise everybody.
Right. Sure.
But it'll be exciting. Some relays on the men's side should fare well. But we'll have to see. We got some tough competition on the men's side. Lindenwood and St. Cloud State are very challenging. I mean, there are only 4 teams on the men's side, but it's going to be very challenging. And then we were fortunate to beat Truman State in our duel earlier this year. The duel is a completely different ball game than a championship format. We have a serious handicap in the sense that we only have 12 guys swimming at this meet. And every other school, St. Cloud, Lindenwood, and Truman, will have 18 scoring swimmers. And that same thing applies on the women's side. We're just significantly behind on the numbers wise. So we're going to have to make sure that our swimmers all get into the scoring heats.
Right. Well, folks, keep in mind, and Mark, correct me if I'm wrong, but you have only freshman and sophomore athletes here because being a second-year program, that's what you've recruited. And that also is part of that numbers game.
Well, absolutely. We were fortunate to have a junior transfer.
Okay.
Well, she transferred in as a sophomore, so Rachel Baronic is a junior on her team, so she's our elder.
Other than that, you don't hear the word junior or senior at all when you're talking about your program.
You are correct.
Wow, and that's something. One of the things I wanted to cover with you here real quickly, we've talked about a historic year for you, but you've gotten some notoriety from your men's swim team participating at the basketball games. They've become kind of the unofficial cheerleading crew there in their Speedos, and that's been a good deal. Can you talk about how that kind of came about? Whose idea was it?
Well, I kind of mentioned it because when I swam at Oakland University, we would go to games in our suits. We did paint up and spelled out like "Go Grizzlies" or something along those lines. And I mean, I'll be honest. Last year I watched Oakland University's men's basketball team playing the University of Tennessee, and the University of Tennessee traveled up to Michigan to play basketball against Oakland, and they panned up in the crowd and they showed the swimmers in their Speedos, and I was like, they're still doing it like 15 years later. So great. I thought that was pretty cool. I mentioned it to the guys last year, but I think with a smaller squad and with only the 6 guys, they didn't want to get together to do it. But with the numbers this year, they're running away with it and having fun doing it.
Who choreographs it? Because they have these routines they're doing.
They all. I have nothing to do with that.
Well, that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, good luck this weekend. It'll be fun to see how you guys do here in your second year. And then what's after that for you?
Just recruiting. I mean, well.
National.
If things go well, we could have an individual or two go to the Division II National Championships, which would be in Birmingham, Alabama. It's March 6th through the 9th. But it's going to take some serious swims for that to happen. So I just keep my fingers crossed that they've done enough work and we've prepared them as well as we possibly can.
Good
but
enough.
If not, just recruiting our tails off to hopefully have those numbers for next year and for the first GLVC championship.